One occurrence. One occurrence means now this has been replaced, substituted with what? Python. But remaining is what? I should display remaining, replace and string. Even reverse. Actually, you have to say str1. So str2 equal to re dot substitute. So what is the pattern here? Java. And then Java inside what here? str1. So print str2. Now you can see. So here, this is str2, right? Java. So this is Python I should give. Why I'm giving same thing, right? Re dot substitute. So pattern is Java and replacement is what? Python inside what? str1. What is this here? str2. Now you can see all Javas are replaced with what here? Python. So this is a string 1. So that is a syntax, right? This is a pattern and this is replaced. When this pattern is found, you are replacing with what? Python inside which one? String 1. When this pattern is found, you are replacing with the, yes, you are replacing in string 1. The replacement will be done in the string 1. So Python. How many times it is? Number of times. Now this Java has been replaced with what here? Python. And here this Java is replaced with which one here again? Python, right? So the Java is replaced with the Python, and here also Java is replaced with what here? Python. So that is substitute. Sub is nothing but substitute, this pattern, and this is replacement, and this is inside the string. Inside the string, you are trying to do this replacement. Inside the string, you are trying to do what? This replacement, right? Yeah, that is called as which one here? Substitution. Okay, fine. Okay, now this is how you are trying to work with the regular expressions. This is how you are trying to work with the regular expressions. Okay. Then next, we'll try to see. So after this, we'll just talk about some module. So there is one module called a date time module. So there is one more module is there, date time module. So that is nothing but working with the date and time. Date time module is nothing but working with the date and time. Working with the date and time, right? Working with date and time. So Python provides so many data types. Python provide number of data types like integer. Every data type in Python is what? Class. And instances are what here? Objects. Now there is one module called date time and calendar module. So using this module, now date time is a predefined module in what? Python. Date time is a predefined module in what? Python. Date time. What is date time here? Is a predefined. Date time is a predefined module in what here? Python. Is a predefined module. Date time is a predefined module. So this module is used, this module provides functionality. This module provides functionality to work with. To work with which one? Date and time. Okay, date time is a predefined module in Python, and this module provides functionality to work with the date and what is that? Time. If you want to work with the date and time, So you work with the date and time by using which module here? Date time module. Okay, suppose assume that roll number is there. Roll number equal to 101. Then roll number is which type? Integer. Then I'll say name equal to Naresh. And the name is which type here? String. Then course equal to Python. Course equal to Python. Then course is which type here? String type. So roll number is of which type here? Integer type. And name is which type here? String type. And course is which type here? String type. And suppose I'm saying fees. For example, I'm writing here fees. The fees 4000.0 is of which type here? Float type. So roll number is integer, name is a string, and course is a string, and fees is what here? Float. Suppose if I'm saying date of joining should be represented. But date of joining, how you represent date of joining as which type? Date type. Date of joining should be of which type here? Date type, right? Okay. Then how can I represent the date? In Python, then I required one data type call. I required one data type, right? And that data type is provided by one module. The data type is provided by one module. And what is that module? Date time module. The data type is provided by one module. And what is that module? It provided by date time module. Okay. So date time module. Date time is a predefined module in what? Python. And this module provides functionality to work with the date and what? Time. This module provides a functionality to work with the date and time, right? So what are the functions? I mean, date time provides. So it is a predefined module. It is a predefined module which comes with which one here? Python software. This module comes with which software here? Python software. You don't require to install separately this date time module. This date time module comes with which software here? Python software. You don't require to install separately this date and time module. You don't require to install separately this date and time module. No. Getting on. So date time is a predefined module in Python, and this module provides okay three classes or following classes. Following classes are data types. One is a date data type, and one more is a time data type, and third one is date time, and fourth one is time delta. So fourth one is what here? Time delta. So it provides some data types like date, time. Okay, date, time, and one more is date, time, and the other one is time delta. So there is an object called date, and there is an object called time, and there is an object called date, time, and there is an object called time delta. So date time is a predefined module in Python, and this module provides functionality to work with the date and time. It is a predefined module which comes with the Python software. This module provides the following classes or data types. So there is a date, time, and date, time. Okay, date, time, and one more is what here? Time delta. So first one is a date. So what is the first one is here is a date. Now this date represents date. So what this date represents here? Date. So date class. So date object represents a date. So date type, okay, represents what is that? Date. And this is a syntax of creating the date. This is a syntax of creating the date. This is a syntax for creating the date. So class, and this is a date time dot date. So date is there. And what date required? Year, month, day. So what is the syntax of creating the date? The syntax of creating the date is the date required the year, month, the date required year, month, and one more is what? Day. So all arguments are required. All arguments are required, and arguments must be integers in the following ranges. All arguments are required, and arguments must be which type here? Integers. And if you see this, year must be, now year must be greater than or equal to minimum year and less than or equal to what? Maximum year. So date defines some year 1900 as something that is called as minimum year, right? And month anyway, month should be greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 12 months. And day should be based on the number of days in the month. The number of day value should be based on the number of days in 1 month. So, but day should be greater than or equal to 1. Day should be greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to number of days in the given month. And what is that? Year. Because you may have some leap year or like that. So the number of days might be changed for specific months, right? So if an argument outside this, if the argument or value outside those ranges, then it gives which error here? Value error. Okay, if the argument outside those ranges, what will happen? It will generate one error. Which error it will generate here? Value error. Which error is raised here? Value error is raised. Which error is raised here? Value error is raised, right? When if the given values are greater than, if the given values are greater than, okay, if it is not between the range, then it generates which error here? Value error. Okay, then it generates value error, right? So then how you construct the date? So date is having 3 attributes: day, month, and year. So what you can do is you can just import which module? Date time module. So which module are you importing? Date and time module. And date equal to date time dot, what is that? Date. So first you have to define the year. First year, second is month, and third is what year? Day. So if I print date, now this is called as a date. From date I can get the year. From date I can get the month. And from the date I can get which one? Day. So it means date object is having how many attributes? 3 attributes. So that is a day, month, and one more is what? Year. So date object is having 3 attributes. Date object is having 3 attributes. One is a day, month, and one more is what? Year. But all these attributes are read only. It means date object is immutable. Date object is what here? Immutable. Date object is immutable. After creating date object, we cannot modify or update. We cannot modify or update which one? Values. After creating date object, we cannot modify or update what? Values. So date object is immutable, and after creating date object, We cannot modify or update the value. But if you're trying to modify the value, it gives an error. If you're trying to modify the value, it gives what here? Error. Because this object is mutable or immutable? Immutable. If I'm trying to modify it, suppose d equal to, suppose d dot day, I'm changing the day from 28 to what? 27. Then immediately it is given what? Error. Saying that which error? Attribute error. Attribute day of date time object is not writable. Object is not writable. Means can you modify this? Can you modify this date and time? No, you cannot modify the day. You can just create it and use it. You can just create it and what? Use it, right? You can just create. You can create the object and then use those values by saying date dot day, month, and one more is what? Year. So you can read that by using what is that? D dot day and D dot month, and one more is D dot year. Okay, this is how you represent the date. This data type is which one here? Date. And there is one more data type called which one? Time. Nothing more on this. Only representing a date. Okay, only representing what? Date. So there is one more type is there. And what is it? Another type is time is there. Okay, there is one more type is there called time. Okay, there is one more type is there. Time object is there. Okay, so this is a time object represents, a time objects represent. So there is a time. So a time object represents. So there is one more. Here is a time. And time object represents a time of a day. Time object represents time of the day independent of any particular day. Time object represents time of a day independent of any particular day. So for that you are using which one here? Time. For that you are using which one here? Time. So this is a syntax for the time. You can define time zone also. So now this is microseconds. So date time is a module name and time is what name here? Type. And this time represent hours, minutes, seconds, and one more is which one? Microseconds. This time represents hours, minutes, seconds, and one more is what? Microseconds. It represents hours, minutes, seconds, and one more is which one here? Microseconds. If I'm not writing anything, because these are default arguments. What is our default? If I don't give anything, for example, T1 equal to date time dot time. If I'm trying to print time, the time is zeros. All zeros. Why? Because are given hours, minutes, and seconds? No. You have not given hours, minutes, and what? Seconds. You have not given hours, minutes, and what is that? Seconds, because it is given hours as 0 and seconds as 0 and minutes as what here? 0, right? So that is number of hours, minutes, and one more is what? Seconds. Then T2 equal to date time dot time. Now you can define hours. You can just define the hours and you can define the minutes and you can also define which one? Seconds. Now if you are trying to print the time 2, this is a time 2 here. Now this is hours, minutes, and what is that? Seconds. Now from this, can I read the hours, minutes, and seconds? Yes. This will get the hours. This will get which one here? Minute. This will get the minute here. And this will get which one? Seconds. Now I can read individual values by using the attributes like hours, minutes, and one more is what? Seconds. But if I want to create the date and time by using, suppose I want to create the date by using what do you call it as system date. Then I'll say date time dot date dot. There is one function called today. So what today will written is, it will read the system date. Okay, today is a function that will return which date here? System date. Today will return the system date dot today. Date dot today, that is written which date here? System date. Now see, this is a range. Range should be given in that way, right? So if you want to create the date with the system date, if you want to create the date with the system date, you can use simply one function called, you can use one function called which one? Today. Simply you can use one function called which one? Today, and that will return the system date. Simply you can use one function called today, and that will return which date here? System date, which contain the year, month, and one more is what? Date, right? So that is called as which object here? Time object. So there is a date object and there is a time object. So there is a date object and there is a time object, and there is a date time object. Okay, date time object or date time data type. So this date time represents both date as well as what? Time. Actually, date represents only date. Time represents only time. But I want one object should contain both date as well as what? Time. I want the one object that should represent both. I want one object that should represent both. Then you try to choose which one here? Date time object. You're trying to select which one? Date time object. So that represents both date as well as what? Time. That represent both date as well as what? Time. So for that you are using date time is one more type. So date time object represents a one object which represent both objects. So is a one object which represent how many objects here? Both objects. A date time object is a single object. A date time object is a single object containing all the information from the date object and what? Time object. Okay, date time object is a single object. A date time object is a single object containing all the information from a date object as well as what? Time object. Is having both. Is having a date as well as which one? Time, right? A date object and which object here? Time. So, but for creating this, I need to represent all the things, right? So I need to represent this hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, everything I have to represent it. So I need to give all the values, but which one is compulsory here is date values are compulsory, but remaining is default or not? Yes. Date is compulsory. Date values are compulsory. If I don't represent the time, then it takes a default time. If I don't represent the time, then it takes what here? Default time. If I don't represent the time, then it takes what here? Default time. If I don't represent the time, then it takes a default time. Okay. So date time is having year, month, day, hours. Default hours is what? 0. And default minutes is what? 0. And default seconds is what? 0. And default microseconds is what? 0. So that is how you are trying to represent it, right? Okay. Yes. So date object and time object. And this is one more object which is called as a daytime time. Okay, right? So how you can write this here is again some d equal to date time dot date time dot date. So you try to give the date year. So first one is year, second one is month, third one is a day. But are you given time here? No. So then what will happen? So this is a date, but time is given or not given? Not given. So time is what here? Zeros. Hours is 0, minutes is 0, and seconds is also what? 0. Hours is 0, minutes is 0, seconds is also 0. So you can create a date time. You can create a date time object by giving year, so month and day, and you can also give the hours and minutes, and you can also define what? Seconds. Now, if you print D1, this D1 is having, now this you can call it as a date, and this you can call it as which one? Time. But from date to time, I can get the date separately by saying T1, D1 dot date. Okay, T2 equal to D1 dot time. From date to time, I can read the date separately. I can read the time also what? Separate. Okay, date to time is having both. From date to time, I want to get only date. Then I use the function called which one? Date. If I want to get the time, I just use a function called which one? Time. If I want to get the time, this is, okay. So this is date. Now this will return a date object and this will return time object. If you want to create the date time by using system date and time, then I'll say date time dot, I just use what here? Now. I'm using now. Now will return which date? System date and time. So this is a system date and this is a system time, and this is millisecond, microseconds. This is what here? Microseconds. And this is a system time. And from this you can separate. Date as well as what again? Time. You can write D3 equal to date time dot. What is that here? Date. D4 equal to date time dot. Some T3 equal to date time dot. Date time dot which one? Time. So this is separating both date as well as what? Time. Okay, so date time represents both. Date time represents both, that is date object as well as time object. So date time represents both, that is date as well as which one? Time, right? So there is one more type is there. There's one more type is there. And what is it? Another type you have is a time delta. There's one more type is there. And what is it? Another type you have? Time delta. So what is this time delta here? What is this time delta here? Time delta is it. So there is a time delta. So what is the use of this is, you cannot perform the arithmetic operations directly. You cannot perform arithmetic operation. Means I want to increase the date. I want to increase what? Time. I want to increase month. I want to increase what? Year. Okay. How can I add the number of days to the date? How can I add the number of months to the date? I cannot do it directly. If I'm trying to do directly, suppose date 1 is there. I'm saying date time dot date. So this is a year and this is a month and this is what year? Yes. If I'm taking this, if I'm writing D1 equal to D1 plus 1, if I'm writing D1 equal to D1 plus 1, immediately it gives what? Error. So the error is, what is the error it is given? Type error. What is the error it is given? Type error. Unsupported operand types. For which operator here? Plus. So you cannot add it. You cannot write D1 plus what? 1. Then how can I perform arithmetic operations? How can I perform arithmetic operations on the date? How can I perform arithmetic operations on the date? So you can perform arithmetic operations on the date by using time delta. By using which one here? Time delta. So just try to understand this. So time delta is used to find the difference between the date and what is that? Time. Time delta is used to find the difference between date and time. Time delta is it. So date time dot time delta. Okay, date time dot time delta. So what is this time delta will do is, you can just see here. So what this time delta will do is, so what happened? Where is the definition? Yes, this is a definition here. So a time delta objects, yeah, this is a definition here. A time delta object, what it's trying to do is, a time delta object represents a duration, the difference between two dates and what? Times. It finds the difference between two dates and what is that? Times. Two dates and times. You are trying to find the difference between the date and time, and that difference you are finding it. One minute. So all arguments are optional. Default to which one here? 0. Now arguments may be integers or what is that? Floats. And maybe positive or what is that? Negatives. All arguments are optional and default to what here? 0. All arguments are optional and default to 0. And arguments may be integers or what is that? Floats. And maybe positive or what is that? Negative. So a time delta object represents a duration, the difference between the two dates or what? Times. So you are saying date time dot time delta, you are representing number of days, and this is a number of seconds and microseconds, and next one is what? Milliseconds and minutes, hours, and one more is what? Weeks. So what is the meaning of this is? So what is the meaning of this is? See how many days you want to add it, how many days you want to subtract, but internally only days, seconds, and microseconds are stored. It means a millisecond is converted to what here? 1000 microseconds. A minute is converted to how many seconds here? 60 seconds. And the hour is converted to how many seconds here? 3600 seconds. And a week is converted to how many days here? 7 days. A week is converted to how many days here? 7 days. Hour is converted to how many seconds here? 3600 seconds. And minute is converted to how many seconds here? 60 seconds. And a millisecond is converted to how many seconds here? 1000 microseconds. So this is how you are trying to do it. Internally, means suppose I created one date. I created one date by saying date time dot date dot today. This is which date here? Current date. I want to increment days. I want to increment what? Days. I want to add one day. Now it is 28, right? I want to make this as 29. Then what will I do? I'll create day d equal to, okay, date time dot time delta. Date time dot time delta, I'm representing this. Okay, difference in what here? Days. How many days you want to add it? I want to add one day. Then I'll say date 2 equal to d1 plus d. So d1 plus d means now date 2 becomes what? 29. If I want to subtract, then I'll say d1 minus d. Okay, then this is a date 2 which has become, sorry, date 3. Date 3 which becomes what here? 20. Because for d1, right? d1 minus d means d1 is 28. 28 minus 1 is what? 27. Suppose if you want to add 1 month, number of days means you want to add 1 month, then I'll say m equal to date time dot time delta. Okay, I need to represent this in days only. So I take some, then I can represent this as how many weeks here? I can also have which one here? Weeks. Can I have a weeks here? Days, seconds, time delta. Weeks. How many weeks I can take here? Some 4 weeks. Then what I'm saying is D4. I'm saying D4 equal to D1 plus. D4 equal to D1 plus what is that? M. D4 equal to D1 plus M. I just print which one here? D4. So the month is added or not? Yes. If you want to subtract it, then you will say D5 equal to D1 minus M. D1 minus M, and this is nothing but month. So it was 7. 7 and then you subtract the month, then it has become which one? 6. So it means if you want to perform any arithmetic operations, if you want to perform any arithmetic operations, you perform that. You perform that arithmetic operations by using which one? Time delta. You perform that arithmetic operations using which one? Time delta. Perform that arithmetic operations using time delta. So these are 4 types. Date time module provide date time, and one more is which one? Time delta. So there is one more module is there, that is called as a calendar is there. But calendar is nothing, it is only for displaying it. Using calendar module, what you can do, you can display the calendar. You can display the calendar. Okay, tomorrow I'll tell you like how you work with the calendar, and we'll also see other modules like OS module, then we'll see networking, and then we'll start object oriented. After that, we'll see multi-threading and Kinter. Okay, these topics we'll try to finish it, right? So maybe I said no, we'll have some 10 to 12 classes, we'll complete. Okay, right. So thank you, we'll see tomorrow, right? NumPy Pandas also. NumPy Pandas, right? Okay.